freedom fighters. I pray for those who fought and are fighting for the independence of our country. Yeah. Cause they possess qualities that are unsurpassed by any fighter today. Let us pray for our freedom mothers. Let us pray for our freedom fighters. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Let us honor William Lee, Saturnino Locoren, Ali Catalan, Ferdinando Goy. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Let us honor Clement Borod, Emmanuel Abur, Andre Jahim, Philip Mapuche. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Let us honor John Garang, Francis Lord, William Nyon, Carabina Kwani. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Let us honor Yusuf Kuwa, Bio Yukwan, Samuel Guy, Abdallah Shaw. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Let us honor
Agergum, yes.
Joseph
Okay.
Odu. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Many friends we lost along the way of freedom. Many heroes we lost along the way of freedom. Many friends we lost along the way. Freedom, 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 yes, freedom, 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 yes, freedom. Some people who say separation freedom, yes, freedom, 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 yes, freedom. Some people will say liberation is the key. Some people who say pretend to be free. Some would be staying in dilemma. Ah, listen to your conscience to say life. I wanna live in
mm,
peace. I wanna be free. I wanna live in peace. I wanna be free. Freedom, freedom, yes, freedom, 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 yes, freedom. No more free in the mamaland. No more slavery in my mamaland. No. My God, my God, created me. Who are you to stop me from being who I am? Who are you to take away what I am? Who are you to stop me from being who I am? Who are you to take away what I am? Freedom, freedom,
mm,
freedom,
mm.
freedom, 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 yes, freedom. Dear viewers, this is Peter Deng from Africa World Books, and our guest of today is Honorable Susan Jambo. I think many of you are aware of Susan. She's a great person who have founded a lot of organizations for the benefit of the people of South Sudan and people of the
Mm,
regions. Susan Jambo, she's a politician, a lawyer, and human rights activist. Susan founded an organization, South Sudan Indigenous Networks, and she's also the founder and president of John Grant Peace Initiative Institute for Women and a founder and chairperson of Step Toward Peace Democracy. She's also an author of few other books, but one of the books is here. So we are going to be very brief. We are honored as well to have Susan in the studio. Before I start, my name is Peter Deng again from Africa Wellbook Community Educations. I have shown you what we are doing here in this small space. And the first song said that a lot of people have died as a result of war during the liberation struggle.
mm,
And those people are remembered in books, and I'm really glad that Susan have made this huge effort where she invests her resources and
mm,
time to make these reading materials available. It is very, very important books. Um, so Susan, she had been advocating. She had a very good work relation with Dr. John Grant Salfakir Mayadit and many other leaders. She joined the
mm,
movement when she was doing a great job for the United Nations, well paid. But she left it for, like there is always an opportunity cost, and she gave up the money in order
mm,
for her to help. Because
mm,
when she first met Dr. John Grant went to her place in Girgiri in Nairobi, and
mm,
she was like, "Oh, why is this man? What is this man looking for here?"
mm,
And after that, Susan gave Garang a warm reception, and Garang said, "Oh, I quote from
mm,
Susan Jambo."
mm,
said, you belong to the SPLM. Then
yes.
Greng said, I quote, it is in the books.
Mm,
And then from there, Susan went to the SPLM and participated in the cleaning up, which she was also assigned by Salva Kiir, because, like the liberation struggle always have issues. To
mm,
those who have read the books, our liberation struggle has not been very smooth as people would think.
mm,
And, it is based on record, not on assumption. If you have read Dr. Lama Cole books and few other books, they have stated what happened from the start. But that is how things are. It is always a continuous improvement plan. So, Susan Jambo, welcome to Africa World Book once again. You have joined the fight against coronavirus, among
mm,
others. So, is South Sudan prepared to face the challenges of coronavirus? And as one of the leaders,
mm,
what advice can you give for us for our
mm,
people to be safe?
mm. First of all, thank you so much, my brother Peter Lual. And I always say there's no amount of words to thank you. Honestly, yourself, an amazing story from an ex-refugee. You came as a refugee from Kakuma in Kenya, from South Sudan, of course, originally you are. I lived in Kakuma refugee camp, and then you went on to
Australia.
Australia. So you are a hero in your own ways. I mean, from a refugee to a books publisher, and you are actually doing an amazing job. That I would like to educate also the audience here, that you are helping pulling your own personal resources to document the stories and history of South Sudan. So that's what you are doing, and you encouraged me at the time when I was writing the book. And to be very honest, there's so many other basic costs that I have not met, but yet you still made the book available. So, and I know you're doing that with other writers because of the circumstances we're in South Sudan ever since. So we really appreciate that for helping and contributing in documenting our history, because some of our leaders actually back in South Sudan, some of them even are old and may also lose their memories and so many things. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to help us put into paper, into writing that history while some of these people, some of our leaders are still alive, which is very important for future generations in South Sudan to learn. So I really salute you and thank you so much. And I
Amen.
would,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for that so much. And I would like to also begin with wishing every South Sudanese, wherever we are, happy Easter. Happy Easter. For us, we are a multi-faith country, nation. South Sudan, we have traditional believers, we have Muslim, but we also have Christians. And for us, Sunday, normally, Sunday Easter is a celebrated Easter. But unfortunately, this year in particular, it's come with a lot of challenges. Primarily, not only South Sudan but the whole world is attacked by COVID-19, coronavirus, and it has changed a lot. It's actually changing a lot of the dynamics of humanity. And I keep saying to people, yes, it may be killing us, yes, it may be a threat to us, but let us revisit our humanity as people, because only through coming together as human race, as people of this world, it's only that we can rescue. Because you know what, there's no way you're going to say we do lockdown and so none of the people are going to ever come to my country, be it the United States of America, be it Australia, China. They can't live without the rest of the world. The same thing with us in Africa, in South Sudan. We cannot say we can block completely South Sudan and Africa from the rest of the world. For how long can we do that? So unless humanity comes together to find a cure for this disease, unless humanity come together to understand what this disease is all about, so we can prevent it. So it's very important we share information. So I will shed some light on what ideas we have coming together, and I'm sure some of you know them already on COVID-19, but I would like to go a little bit more systematically on Africa World Book Center. The Africa World Book Center is, like I said, is a book printing center that is our brother Peter Lual, who is a South Sudanese. Peter Lual Deng is the publisher, is the owner of it, is the original person who came up with the idea, and he's starting, of course, obviously with his country, but from the rest of Africa. I have shared this link, brother Peter Lual, with so many Pan-African forums, so that they can also follow us. Pan-African forums, because we do have groups or WhatsApp groups and think tank groups that we share together ideas for a one united Africa, and of course one united world. So I've shared it also, that I shared the link already with those groups, and that's why I'm trying to say this, to encourage all of us African South Sudanese to document our history, to document what we are doing in our respective work and all that. So, like you said, this book, than today's African woman, which is a human rights, as a human rights champion and as a single mother. I will start with the easiest part. People have been attacking me on the word single mother. And I am saying this, there are some situations in life that sometimes are not by choice, but not by choice that you happen to be like that. The same, we have thousands of families headed by widows. These are also considered single mothers. So don't look at the word single mother in the strict form that is seen as in the Western world. In Africa, we have so many families headed by mothers because of the war that's been going on in South Sudan. So if as a woman, that is me, with a child on me, and I'm alone, I could participate in public domain, be part of our struggle for freedom and becoming a nation that we are today, then any woman can, any man can. So I'm trying to demystify so many things for us as Africans, as South Sudanese, that let's not confine ourselves and say only books can be written by a PhD holder, for example, or books can only be written by somebody who is old or somebody who is married with a family or something. No, anybody can write a book. You can have so many ideas that you can write a book. And I would like to encourage us as a nation, as a people, especially the upcoming younger people, to encourage us to read books. It is very important. And you can get books now in soft form, Kindle. You can get them on Amazon. And I think brother Peter Lual is going to share the link on here for how you get the soft copy, also from Africa World's books. So in a nutshell, we want to encourage documentation of our identity, our struggle, who we are as a people before. Because what are we founding a nation for if our children do not know the history of how we came into being? We have to leave behind a lot of history for our children so that they carry on. And like my brother said in the book, I really wrote this book, by the way, in a very simplistic way. I mean, you can finish it almost even in 1 day, 2 days, depending on your pace of reading. It's a very easy book to read. The whole thing is to empower women, especially younger women and young boys, to actually see that all of us are pioneers. All of us can be part and parcel of a struggle. We don't have to wait for what the late Dr. our hero, Dr. John Garang did, our late Mama Agergum did for us, our late Mama Kezia Lengwa did for us, and all those other great heroes that did for us, Dr. Samson Kwaji and all that. But we are all heroes. We are all champions. We can all identify a role. For example, now with COVID-19, there's so many young people who can emerge as heroes now as we are facing this, to save our humanity, to save our people, to create awareness and all of that. So that is what the book is. It's written in very simple English, very easy to read, but the whole thing is actually a documentation process. If you look at the book, like my brother said earlier on, sometimes people see me, they think, oh, Suzanne Jambo maybe joined the SPLM or the struggle in 2008 as foreign secretary and all that. So a lot of people think that, but no, I have always been there from 1998.
Actually, we need you to tell us, because
Yeah,
before
sure.
you joined the movement, you
Yeah,
used to, according to your book, Fetch 51,
yeah,
56, you used to do a good job, well paid job, well respected job with the
yeah.
UNICEF. South Sudan Lifeline in
Yeah.
Nairobi.
Yeah.
So, what made you to join the movement?
Yeah.
Because some people, I think, who had like that opportunity would have not even given up their job for the movement that did not pay them. And
Yeah.
at that young age, you gave up. And what made Garang as well? Garang went and looked for you.
Yeah.
And there were
Yeah.
other people outside.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it was a tough decision.
Yeah.
So can you tell us why?
Okay. Let me start a little bit
Yep.
about my background.
Yep.
My family. I come from a Muru family in Western Equatoria. I rarely speak about that because I always like to talk as a South Sudanese first and foremost and always. But for the sake of you start from zero. So from the starting point, I'm from the Muru family, chief of Sultan Jambo in Western Equatoria near Rukun area. For those people who may know or not. It's not very far from Juba. It's about 2 hours drive from Juba. A lot of mangoes there. We have a lot of mangoes. Very nice, pleasant
Okay.
weather. And during the SPLA struggle, a lot of SPLA soldiers were hosted by the local community and generously given a lot of mangoes there. So Chief Jambo was born in the late 18 something, in the late 18 something. Those days there were no birth certificates,
Yeah.
but he also helped group together so many other chiefs around the area to struggle and organize themselves against the British colonialists at that point, a very long time. It's all in the history books. And then he gave birth to many children, including the first regional minister for finance, my late grand uncle Sapana Jambo. He was the first minister for finance in the regional government of 1972 after the Addis Ababa agreement, and late Samson Jambo, who was a road construction person. He self-taught himself. He didn't go to school because he was the firstborn. He had to help his siblings to go to schools, so he taught himself through them. And then later on, he established himself and did a road construction. And there's something unique about me and him, though I never got to meet him because he was killed in the Anyanya War in 1965. But he had this thing for girls, his firstborn was my mother, who was a girl, a very strong girl, very strong Margaret Jambo. So he had this thing for girls. Like he would not allow any chief to ask him to come and help them to do the road, to pave the road a bit so that it can be passable. Of course, he didn't use sophisticated machinery, but he had some lorry and he could bring some cement and stones and that kind of stuff. So to make the road passable during the rainy season and all that, the chief would ask him to come and help. The chief from different, like from Zande area, from other areas in Equatoria, as far back even as Eastern Equatoria, there, Lotuka land and all that. He would make a condition for me to go there to do the road. I want to get a condition from the chief. He would say that he will ensure to promote all the girls to go to schools in the village. So when he did that, when the chief would agree with him, that's when my grandfather then would say, okay, fine, I'll come and do the road in your area. So he made it as a condition, and I don't know whether that inspired me, that since I was born, even though I never got to meet him, that inspired me, or maybe that spirit went on to me to ensure that I worked for women and girls from when I was born, almost, having said that, as you can see in the book, my brother Peter, I talk about my activism in the Catholic Church. I'm going to go to the part of the late Dr. Jongarang, but in the Catholic Church, I'm a person who was brought up in the Catholic Comboni schools and Catholic Church in Khartoum. So what I did since I was about 11 years old, we had the people coming from displacement, internal displacement from the war from all over South Sudan. I was a little girl in the church that time, and some people, the parish priest always looked up to me, or the youth league or whatever, they always looked up to me for voluntary work. Oh, Suzanne is always going to help out with this and that. So I would be asked to volunteer at the Adult Education Center. So I was an 11-year-old or kid or something, very small. And our people are tall. So I'm short and I'm really young, a little girl. And then they asked me, Suzanne, please come and teach us ABC or something. So I would go and volunteer in the church. And that is how my community kind of voluntary work started as well. So in the church, I was always like that. And then we'd go to centers, displaced centers like in Bagir. Those who grew up in Khartoum would know what I'm talking about. In northern Khartoum and Mayo and other places, would go with the priest, and then a group of us, some young kids, we would go and distribute food and clothes and things to the internally displaced. So that became part of me since I was little. That's something, always to service the people and to be a servant of the people, to work for the people, to make sure the people are happy. It gave me a lot of tremendous happiness in me and fulfillment when I see a suffering person no more has suffering on his or her face. They're smiling, they're looking happy. I feel really personally very grateful and happy with that. I feel the happiness. So then I started developing ideas to study law. But before that, I wanted to do journalism. So in the book here, I share my story. I started studying, I started doing photography when I was in high school at Cambodia Sister School. Through uncles, I think they helped me to have a dark room and with cameras and things. So I would take pictures. I wanted to become a journalist. I thought by writing on the newspapers everywhere about the poor people, about the people who are suffering and all that, the world is going to hear it and we're going to solve the world. That's what I thought at the time. So I did photography and I was doing that. But one day I was watching, and I said this in the book, I was watching a very important, very highly televised court case. The court case, and it was Mahmoud Muhammad Taha, the late Mahmoud Muhammad Taha. Ironic, this is very ironic. Here I am, a Catholic girl, Christian, and I am from a southern family. I'm a South Sudanese myself, and all that. Then suddenly I'm watching TV, and I'm a small girl. My uncles, my aunties, all my mother, they're all highly political. They like to listen to the news and all that. So then they hear about this man, Mahmoud Muhammad Taha, Nimeri wanted to kill him because he said Christians and Muslims can live together in peace in Sudan. And Nimeri at that time was becoming Islamic, radical Islamic, advised by the late Turabi and all those kind of people. So then the cameraman zoomed the picture of the late Mahmoud Muhammad Taha, and something in his eyes spoke to me. I said to myself, no, I cannot sit in this world when people are suffering like that. I have to do something to defend the people in their human rights. That is what inspired me. Then I said to my mother, I woke up in the morning, I said, Mama, tomorrow when I grow up, I want to study law. I want to become a lawyer so I can go to court and defend the people whose rights are violated. So that's the story of me and human rights. Mahmoud Muhammad Taha, and I wrote it in the book. And despite the fact that as Junubin, those of us who grew up in Khartoum, we know that we were discriminated against by Arabs. Our religion, it was tough. Yet Mahmoud Muhammad Taha, a Muslim man, an Arab man, was the one that inspired me to become the human rights champion that I am today. It's very ironic. I don't know it, but it is very divine. It's very special. So then I went to study law in England. My uncles and other people helped me. So I went and finished my law studies in England, and I came back. I got a job with United Nations, UNICEF in Nairobi. Yes, at that point I was only 22 years old and I was earning $2,000 a month, Yeah, very good money that time. I mean, yeah. It's like $5,000 or $6,000 today. It's no less than that today, And and I was a small girl. I was very young girl, so very good money.
Tell us, why did you give the money up?
Well, as UNICEF, they invited us for a conference, a human rights conference in Kampala, in Uganda, on Sudan, the Sudan Human Rights Conference by Transitional Justice Africa, which was based in London at that time. So when I went there, I started talking. The late Yusuf Kua was there at the conference. Yeah. And Yusuf Kua heard me speak. That's the same person that you see today is the same person I was back when I was 22. When I see a point of intervention, point of human rights, I raise my hand and I say, this point like that, this point like that. So Yusuf Kua, elderly man, wise leader in SPLM, went and sat with Garang. Dr. Garang was in Kampala at that point at the government guest house, and he went and said, "There's this young girl from you guys, from your South Sudan, because Yusuf Kouai is from Nuba Mountains. So he's like, she's one of your daughters. She really speaks from her heart." Then Yusuf, the late Dr. John Garang, asked me to go and visit him at the guest house. So Yusuf Kouai was the one who escorted me first. Quietly we went, and Garang met me, and he looked at me very quietly. He didn't say a word. He just said to me, "Suzanne, your place, you don't belong to the United Nations, you belong to the SPLM."
Yes, that is in the book.
Yes, that's in the book. That's what he told me. He did not even say much. He just told me that. And I tell you, Brother Peter Lual, I was very confused at that point. I was really confused. I was like, how am I going to tell my mother? Because my mother lost her father to Anyanya 1 war, her uncle to Anyanya 1 war. And so now if I go and tell her, "Mama, I want to join also the SPLM," that means she could hear anytime I'm dead. So I was very scared. I kept quiet. I went back to Nairobi, back to my job. I was thinking. I was very disturbed. Then one day I was tapping in my computer at the United Nations Gigiri there in OLS, Operation Lifeline Sudan, Block J. For those of us old enough who remember that, know that, by the river, just by the river, that nice United Nations complex there. Then I see Mama Rebecca Nyandeng. Mama Rebecca is still alive, and if she's watching this video, she knows exactly what happened. The Mama Rebecca came with all her bodyguards. There were 5, 6 of them. I thought I was being arrested. What did I do wrong? What happened? So I was told, "Mama Rebecca, Mrs. Garang, she's here. She wants to meet with you." So I'm like, okay. I came out of the office. I took permission from my boss. So I went to her. She's like, "We cannot meet in your office. Can we meet at the cafeteria?" So we went to the United Nations cafeteria, and "My husband has sent me to you. He said he's waiting on you on that conversation he had with you." So he actually made sure he did send her as a follow-up to the conversation we had in Kampala in 1999. So then 98. So then, you know what? I just didn't know what to do now. I said, I'm not going to tell my mother. I'm just going to join the SPLM just like that, and she will hear later on. Because I just could not face her. My mother, to this day, my mother, whenever she is in a funeral, she cries at the funeral for the funeral people who died, but also she remembers her father because she never got to bury her father. They never got to bury the father. So she's still mourning up to now about her father. And she was very close to her father. So I didn't want to cause her that pain as well. So I just said to myself, I'll just join and God will take care of me. And true to his word, I thank God for it. God took care of me. So from that time, Garang just gave me assignment after assignment. I never relaxed. Garang, I think it was like he was like in a divine way. Garang knew he was also going to go soon. You understand that? So he gave me an assignment. He gave me the first assignment, and I mentioned it in the book. He asked me to organize the first women's conference in SPLM. So that is the one that gave the women today the 25%, by the way.
The one that you had in New Kuch, yeah?
Yes, the one we had in New Kuch 1998.
So it's in the book, yeah.
And that was when I met with Comrade Salva Kiir as well. Yeah, that's when I met with Salva Kiir for the first time. And that's why Salva Kiir always looks at me, says to me, "Suzanne, you are that small Suzanne of ours. When you came, you're very skinny, very thin, very small girl. We know you will never betray the struggle of the people of South Sudan." That's what he told me, that you came when you were a small girl. You have never changed. You will never betray. That's what he tells me like that, because he remembers me from that women's conference. So basically, there was no ending to that. After that, it became now the peace talks, of course, in Addis Ababa first in 98, August 98, after we did the women's conference, and then later on in Nairobi, and then until Naivasha, Machakos, and all that. And then, of course, now Garang's first highest profile meeting with the Europeans, because the Americans kind of knew him, but the Europeans, the Norwegians, they didn't know him personally, though they were in solidarity with the people of South Sudan. So I was in the thickest of Nuba Mountains when I was writing my first book, the one on customs and cultures and the vis-a-vis the rights of women in the liberated areas, which is Nuba Mountains, Blue Nile, and South Sudan, and in refugee camps, Kakuma, and also in Egypt and Uganda. So what I did is that Garang sent for me. I sent a message through Yusuf Kua, the late Yusuf Kua. He was there in Nuba Mountains when where I was in '99 doing the research on the first book that I did in 2000. We don't have a soft copy, unfortunately. We yet to do that, and I think my brother Peter Lualadeng and I talked about that. We shall have to work on that at some point because it's a very useful book to have in as far as fighting or trying to lobby for making better customs so that girls and women are fully empowered. So basically, yeah, then Garang said, I'm not going to go to Europe. I'm not going to go to Sweden and Norway and all that until Suzanne Jambo comes to Nairobi. So, that time we had the war. And so in Nuba Mountains, all the airstrips were closed because the Khartoum government, Bashir government, had put all these aircrafts, anti-aircrafts what we call them in Arabic. I think there was a name for it. Danat. I think that's
Yeah.
the Jesh with that they're calling Danat.
Yeah.
The one that when you are down and you
Yeah.
can hit the plane the plane will fall down.
Yeah.
So the Khartoum government had placed them in all the Nuba Mountains airstrips. So we ended up walking all the way from Nuba Mountains for 3 weeks. We walked on foot, night and day and night, from all the way to Fanyagor in Upper Nile. We walked on foot, with the late Yusuf Kua. He assigned 50 soldiers, 150 policemen, so 200 people in total to protect us, and he was with me. I was in front of him, and he was in front of me, and I was right behind him because Garang said he must take care of me to make sure I come out safely. So he escorted me until Fanyagor in Upper Nile. From there, a plane was sent from Lokichogyo. Then the late Martin Okorek, he was the administrator assisting the late Uncle Justin Yach, Dr. Justin Yach in Nairobi with the administration of the SPLM. Martin Okorek was waiting at the airport and got my passport straight up. From there, we had great ambassadors, Swiss ambassador like Ambassador Joseph Bucher. Joseph Bucher, he was very supportive of the movement and Garang. So he made sure our visas were stamped on the whole night. In the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, I had to be at the airport. That's when I went and joined with the late Dr. John Garang, and we traveled into 7 countries around the world: Egypt, Libya, Nigeria, Norway, and all those countries, and the US. So basically, it was the highest profile for SPLM, and I mentioned it here. So people ask me, how was your relationship with Dr. John Garang? And in the book, I tried to explain it because, of course, you have to understand, I was only 22 years old. I was very young. I didn't know anything, without my family, who am I at that time? I didn't know anything. But Dr. John Garang, if you sat with him away from meetings, just sitting with him in the hotel living room, Mama Rebecca, of course, is there and all that, he was very relaxed man, very comfortable, very normal. And he used to like making a lot of jokes. He used to like making a lot of jokes. He used to make us laugh and all that. So he was a very simple person, but always working. He used to work very, very hard. He would be in his laptop until 2, 3 in the morning, until Mama Rebecca tells him, you have to go to sleep. He wouldn't stop working. He was always in the computer, just writing. And I learned a lot with him. The 3 months I traveled the world, 7 countries around the world with him, he exposed me to the international people, how he spoke to the international community, how he championed our struggle as a people of South Sudan and all that. He really inspired me in so many ways. So I was always, some pictures I have also I put in the book where I'm writing down, in the book, I'm just writing. Garang is saying things and I'm just writing. I don't know why I was writing so much. I was just a good student. I just wanted to learn so much about our struggle and everything and how to advocate in front of the world community. Yeah, that picture with us in Cairo. We went through Egypt. Hosni Mubarak, the late Hosni Mubarak, wanted to meet with Garang because he heard we were in Libya, and he said, you cannot be, he heard we were in Nigeria. So he spoke with Obasanjo. That time, September 99, Obasanjo was the president of Nigeria. And so the Hosni Mubarak called him and said, you must make sure Garang comes and sees me. How he comes to visit you and he cannot come to visit me. So we went on the private jet of Obasanjo to Egypt, to see the what's his name, the late Hosni, President Hosni Mubarak. And those of us South Sudanese who were living in Egypt know very well, whenever Garang went to Egypt, it meant good things for South Sudanese living there. The Egyptian government will start treating all the South Sudanese very well, very well after that. So Garang made sure he talked about the case of South Sudanese and even Sudanese generally, Nuba, Darfur, all those people who are living in Egypt like that. Then when we were in Egypt as well, Gaddafi, the late President Gaddafi of Libyan Gaddafi, he called Hosni Mubarak. He's like, how comes Garang comes all the way to you here and he cannot come to me there? So then we had to go to Libya as well. So basically, a trip that was supposed to have been Norway, Finland, Denmark, and Sweden ended up being Nigeria because Garang could not fly over Sudan space, Khartoum space. So we had to use the KLM plane all the way through Nigeria and go all the way through the Western Sahara into those Western countries, Europe. We could not have flown over Khartoum because Garang's life was that much in danger. Bashir wanted to finish him those days. So in the book, I shared these stories that these are the things that we had to go through, and learning Garang was just amazing. It was like a whole school of thought, a whole school of way of thinking and everything. Limitless boundaries. You can do it. If you put your head onto something, you believe in something, you can do it. Obviously, I said in the book, for sure he may have not been perfect. He was a highly militant man, leader and everything, but his strategic thinking mind and resolve and focus on the struggle of the people, the marginalized people of Sudan, was something that is very impressive, something that you cannot forget. And one of the jokes I remember, somebody is asking me what joke. I remember we were eating we were in Lagos at the VIP guest house, and so Dr. Garang said, oh, this morning let me try to eat pepper soup. Nigerian pepper soup means Nigerian soup, with chili, very hot chili, jalapenos kind of chili. So the Nigerian chef, so okay, this man must know what he's doing. So he made it proper the Nigerian way. Let me tell you, Garang's face was sweating, he was sneezing, his eyes were tearing, and he was looking so funny, So I looked at him, I'm like, Dr. Garang, if this thing is too hot for you, no need for you to eat it. It's like, no, I ordered it, I'm going to finish it. But you could see he was really struggling, and everybody on the dining was just laughing at him. We were just laughing so much. And something just came onto me, by the way, talk of that. When we were there, I sat and I asked Garang 2 questions at that particular point. I said one thing. I said, Garang, I asked him one particular question. I said, Garang, how do you trust me? I am here, very young girl. Anybody could cheat me, like Bashir, for example, could give me good money, a lot of money, and I'm with you here. I can put poison for you and kill you. And Bashir would be happy. Do you know, Garang looked at me for a second and taught me something it took me years to understand. I didn't understand it at that point, but today I know it. He said to me, Suzanne, sometimes you may even know the family of the person, like the way I know you, I know your family. You may even have grown up with the person. Even the person can be your child, he said. But you know what he said? In life, sometimes people have to take risk. And that risk, you take it for believing in the person. And he said that doesn't come with your papers. It doesn't come with your credentials. It doesn't come with your CV or your resume. It comes by looking straight into someone's eyes and this person is a person I could trust. So he said, based on that, I trust you, Suzanne. I trust you cannot poison me. So that was very profound to me, but the ability to take the risk. And how do we take the risk as human? Like you notice sometimes man and woman meet. A man maybe is even Chinese and the woman may be African or American. And they marry each other. and they don't even know each other at all, but something makes them to believe in each other. And 40, 50 years down the road, they will be happily married with amazing kids and grandkids. And sometimes there's a person you grew up with in the same neighborhood, a girl that you grew up in the same neighborhood, and you marry her, but still you cannot agree together. You will hate each other and you can divorce. So life is about taking risk and learning to take the risk. Why? And looking at the risk that is it worth the risk? So many things, and whether you can believe in taking that risk, and what are the things that can make us believe in taking the risk. There's so many things that I learned, and I continue to learn from that. So basically, then I continue with that, and then we come back to Africa in the book, and then we get into the peace talks immediately, the CPA, and I was humbled by the late Dr. John Garang for him to make me the first young woman to join the peace talks. I was the first woman and young woman. So basically, I was with two hats, the hat of a woman and the hat of a youth. And back in 1999, when we started the peace talks on South Sudan. So everybody else we were on the 10-member team. You know, the 10-member team were the most permanent team. So basically there, it had people, the late Dr. Justin Yaj, the late Uncle Elijah Malongdit, these people, the late Dr. Samson Kwaji, the late Yusuf Kua, Malik Agar, Nial Deng. I mean, people that are old enough to be either my father or my uncles, or my grandfathers even, like Uncle Elijah Malong, he went to school as my grandfather. So it was interesting for me. It wasn't, there I am, Garang believing in me for some reasons he knows, which I wasn't even knowing at that point. And many people in the SPLM did not know. So they are they're feeling, of course, as young people, you know what it means. When you are young, all the people in African society, they think we don't know. When you are 20-something years old, they're like, this one is Jana Saker. Is a young person, leave him there. This is not a serious. You're just crowding this space. And then, can you imagine being a woman on top of that? So, and these men are military. They've been in the army all their lives and everything. So basically, they are looking at me as an intruder. Atla bara, etamara sakit. You're just a woman, and you etanyaraku sakit. I was, I never carried a gun. So why Garang, he never allowed me to carry a gun. In 99 in New Kush, the lawyers conference, Garang asked me to become one of the commissioners to to review all the martial laws of SPLM and to put them into codified civilian law, into normal law, like the way you have in Australia, in America, in Africa, most of Africa. So not into liberation, but into civilian code. So when I was there was a number of judges, all judges. They were like, Garang, he said something very profound. He said, the guy told him, Garang, why do you like bringing new people all the time, young people all the time, blah, blah, blah. Why don't you stay with your own people all the time? Garang said, Sudan People's Liberation Movement, meaning on the move, just like a bus. He said, when a bus starts a journey, some people drop somewhere, they pay their bus fare, and then another people come, they pay bus fare also, and they move, and that's how it keeps it moving. He said SPLM is not a static, doesn't stuck in one place, but it has to move. So I learned that from him in that New Kush conference when he said that. And then the late Maulana Dong Samuel, who was my senior counsel, he was senior to me, God rest his soul in peace. He was in the justice military. He was a judge in the justice military at that time.
So the guy that just got killed was also
the one who was killed recently, sadly, in January 2017. God rest his soul. He's one of my heroes. He's one of my mentors. He's one of my big brothers. I respect Maulana Dong Samuel so much, honestly speaking. He went together with about 4 other generals to meet with Garang and say, you know what, Suzanne is already educated and she's a lawyer. We don't have any woman in the military justice. Can she become one of the military justices? Garang looked at him and said, my young son, because he was younger than Garang, of course. Yeah. So he said to him, no. I want Suzanne to remain civilian. We are in a phase really of civilian rule. We cannot go back into military. We're trying as much to get out of military. So I remember Maulana Dong Samuel was looking out for me like that. He thought that that way I could really even go higher up in the movement and be fast tracked. But Garang said, no, leave Suzanne with her purity. She's a champion. She speaks her mind the way she is. If she's in the military, she will be conformed. She will put in line seniority and all that. He said it's not a good thing because SPLM has to move towards liberation where the civilians feel they're empowered. So that was very important, something I learned in 1999 in New Kush at the lawyers conference. So then, yeah, we went on the peace talks and then into thematic and all of that. As we all know, the CPA finally was signed in 2005. But I can tell you something, my brothers and sisters, and my brother Peter Wall, I think you read it in the book. Almost every night I went to bed as a young girl. That time, 99, I was 23 years old, with my tears in my eyes. Nobody prepared me for what it means to be among generals, old men who are traditional in their thinking and ways. They would tell me, shut up in front of Kawajat. I'm telling you, in front of even East Africans.
You know, late Bolmajong Adiang stated in his book called The Wrong Camps. I think you were in the wrong camp.
Yes, I was in the wrong camp. I'm telling you. I mean, there's nothing I would say that will make any sense. So every time I raise my hand, I want to, because I was part of the main delegation. So I was very strong on issues as human rights, participation of the civil society, participation of women, young people. This was my passion, and all that. So people will shut me up. They're like, keep quiet. What are you going to tell us about human rights? What are you going to tell us? You want SPLM to go to court, to be taken to court so they can be sentenced because they did something violation? So what I did then, I went to Mama Rebecca. I said, Mama Rebecca, please, sometimes can you help me to meet Dr. John Garai? So what I would do, if I want to include any idea to do with human rights or civil society or women or youth in the agenda, especially when we're doing the CPA, the Machakos Protocol, because that is the political agreement itself, the framework of the political agreement, I would go to meet with Dr. Garang and I would tell him, Garang, please, CNC, we used to call him CNC, Commander-in-Chief, CNC, please, can we include human rights? Can you include women? Can we include youth? Like that. Then Dr. John Garang immediately would summon the SPLM for a meeting in the morning, at 6 in the morning before we drive to Machakos. And then he would tell the people there, the delegates, today you're going to include human rights in your discussion as SPLM. You're going to include women's rights, youth rights, and all that, diversity of faith, diversity of cultures, all that. So when Garang would say it, of course, as an order, then everybody listens to it. But if it came from Suzanne, nobody would listen to it. So, my role was not to keep quiet in the meetings. While I would be in the meetings, I'm just keeping my peace and quiet. And then they are the ones saying it. But I've already spoken with Dr. John Garang, God rest his soul in peace, the night before or the day before or something like that. I would request through Mama Rebecca. I would call her and then she would make the time available. So basically, yeah, this was a very good strategic way of working within the SPLM to reform, to make sure we have things that include the aspiration of the people of South Sudan in a dynamic, liberal way, and inclusive way. The late Dr. John Garang, and this is one of the things I include in the book, was not a difficult person to get the idea to him. When you sit down with Dr. John Garang and you come from a genuine perspective, you see, for as long as you don't come, you want to cheat the people of South Sudan, the struggle, or the because some people come with their own hidden agenda. They want to have, but if you come for the real common good and the welfare of the people and you say it honestly to Garang, consider it done. Consider it done. That's one thing I'm sorry to say this, but in my working relationship with Comrade Salva Kiir, I put in the chapter is that with Comrade Salva Kiir, I would sit for hours with him, tell him for hours, advise him, and he would agree with me nicely. 5 minutes after I leave him, his mind is changed. It's not done. So I was 8 years. I was going like in circles. In
the book, you call it like the years of Kiir.
Yeah, the years of Kiir. Yeah, in the book we call it the years of Kiir, President Kiir.
Now, that brings us to another question, Honorable.
Yeah, sure.
I think we will go for a break for 3 minutes. So I'll
sure.
give you Again, from Africa World Books, we are with Honorable Susan Jambo, one of the authors, also a politician.
Mm.
My friend, no one gonna live forever with precious time. What you can, my friend, no tribe gonna make a nation. No one tribe will make a nation.
Yes, not one tribe can make a nation. All of us can make a nation.
And we're gonna stand together from liberation to build a nation. We're gonna stand together along with South Sudan. My friend, we gotta thank the horses for the books that they write. They sharpen our minds. My friend, let's celebrate Dr. Johnson for the work he has done. For everyone, for everyone, we gotta stand together from liberation. We'll build a nation. We gotta stand together. Long live South Sudan. Give our thanks to Norway for assistance and aid to brighten our day, my friend. Let's walk away from darkness into the light of day. We find our way. We find our way. We're gonna stand together from liberation with your nation. We're gonna stand together long live South Sudan. Long live South Sudan. Long live Africa well. Dear viewers, welcome back again. That is song composed by myself, trying to acknowledge the role played by individuals because Africa World Book would have not survived without the support of people like Susan Jambo, people like Dakla Johnson, and some
Mm.
of my friends from Norway, and all the authors who have been very patient.
Mm.
They have been very supportive when I started the programs a few years ago. What motivated me, I said, we cannot afford to let our people let the history die
Mm.
like the way that John Grant is gone. So what I meant by don't waste time. A lot of
Mm.
time to have been wasted on the social media everywhere, and people also think that the tribe, one tribe, can make a nation. It is a total lie. So we need to come together to build a
Mm.
nation as we fought for liberation.
Yeah.
Honorable Susan Jambo, you have talked of years of Salva Kiir.
Mm.
You were part of the movement, liberation struggle. At,
Mm.
at some stage in page 50, 150 something, you were given an assignment to clean up the
Mm.
SPLM, sorry. Uh, so can you tell us what were you people trying to clean up? And
Yeah.
tell us as well the Salva Kiir that you met and
Yeah.
the Salva Kiir that we have now.
Mm.
Has Salva Kiir forgotten
Mm.
uh, or is SPLM a jack? Dr.
Mm.
Kern also before his death, he told you that you belonged with the SPLM.
Yeah.
That that was a statement he made when you first met with him.
Mr. Dongara, yeah.
Eventually, I don't know
Mm.
whether you were forced out of the country,
Mm.
and then immediately after that you form your party.
mm,
Have you forgotten what Garang said? The SPLM belong with you,
mm,
meaning it that you are a young person with energy and
mm,
people could bring transformation.
yeah.
What difference can your party
Mm,
play
yeah.
than the SPLM? So you are welcome again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So basically, after we delivered the peace agreement, the comprehensive peace agreement, even though the late Dr. John Garang in 2005, God rest his soul in peace, had wanted me as part of his government as a minister, and he actually wanted me as a minister and had a choice between Juba or Khartoum because also I speak good Arabic, you know. So he wanted either of the two places. I had no choice but to meet with the late Dr. John Garang because you know the time when I was in the CPA when the comprehensive peace driving from Nairobi to Machakos.
And again, tell our audience you were terrified to go to Khartoum. You know, like when you people after the CPA was signed
Mm.
in page 84, you
Yeah,
felt terrified. You know why?
yeah.
So people know
I'll,
because there
I'll
are
mention
guys.
that quickly.
There are,
So, you know, because in the book I also talk about single mother. I'm not talking about promoting single motherhood, but I
yeah,
am talking about we have widows. We have many mothers that are raising their children alone in South Sudan. And I wanted to encourage those women that, you know, not because you are alone raising the kids, you cannot help in developing the nation. Because if I could do it, then other women can do it. So that's the whole essence of it. Don't say that because I'm a single mother, I'm a widow, taking care of my children by myself alone, so I don't have to go and help with maybe the local school, the local community center. You know, we all have a role to play in South Sudan. All of us right now speak. And if you look at the book, I talk about, I will focus on the child thing because I want to move on to the point of why I decided to take rest also from the SPLM
yeah,
in 2005. So in here, I did ask my son, and this is something I want to share with all of us, fathers, mothers, parents, for us to continue the journey, for the children to continue their journey of nationhood, of the people that who we are, marginalized, deprived of all things that we want to develop so that our kids to continue and to build it even better and better. They need to know our history. They need to know about our struggle. I have noticed most of us people who have contributed directly hands on in the liberation struggle, those who were foot soldiers, those who were commanders, those who were civilian liberators like myself, we often don't focus on our children. You know, we are just running out and about taking care of out there where the children know nothing about the struggle at home. So when the 2005 came, when the CPA came, that is when we all noticed. Because have you noticed most of the kids of these families, of these big people, ended up driving big cars, expensive cars, everything. They don't care about the struggle. They know nothing about the struggle. For them, it was their parents, their mother or their father is somewhere in South Sudan, liberating South Sudan, and maybe the kids are either in Kenya, Uganda studying, or Kakuma, or even in Australia or America. They have nothing to do with the struggle. So those kids, when you sit down with them, most of the time they know nothing about the struggle. On top of that, as well, they were not raised by the parents in the values that we're supposed to be as family. So, for example, my child had to be with so many several people for me as I was going all the way in the bush, my son. So the reason I did the interview, I asked him some questions. I asked him some of the questions. I asked him, how did it feel the times when I was going to the bush? You know, our children, when we travel to places where we could get killed, those children are scared for us. They are afraid for us, you know. They feel like they're going to become orphans without us. So I was trying to make us to be ourselves, to put ourselves in the foot of so many orphan kids who lost their children, who lost their parents in South Sudan. In the book, you're going to see the questions because we want to become better parents to our children. We want to be involved in our children's well-being. How are you feeling, my child? Not just how is your classwork? Have you done A? Did you get a B plus? No, not only that. You get to know what your kid is going through, because there's so many bad people and bad influences out there. And the continuation of the journey, remember, also we don't want to be a generation where our struggle and values of our liberation end with our generation, and the other people that come after us, they will not take care of the country. They will just spoil it like that. So this is why I mentioned that in the book. It's very important. That's why I mentioned the word single mother there. So please, politics is our day-to-day life. Politics is not just something you read in reports out there. No, it is our children. It's the schools they go to. It's the quality of life. It's the water that runs in our tap, and we know the people who gave their dear lives so that we have electricity and water, and what that people are enjoying now, maybe soon in South Sudan when we have even a better government. So please, it's very important the kids to continue their journey. And this book is written in very simple language, very simple. Even children can read it, even students can read it, upcoming leaders, young leaders can read it, they can understand it. It's written for that purpose, so that we encourage the people behind us, the people coming after us. So back to 2005, when we signed the CPA, and as I was driving before that, all the way back from Nairobi to Machakos, my brother Lual, women, all the women in Nairobi, South Sudanese women, my aunties and all that, were telling me, Suzanne, one of these days you're going to give birth on the road, because I was driving too much back and forth to the peace talks and come. We were so busy. We were so busy thereabout. So when I gave birth to my son, I went to Dr. John Garang in 2005. My son was barely 3 years old, like that, running around, little in diapers. So I said, Dr. Garang, I know you want me to be part of your government in Khartoum or in Juba, but look at this little one. I almost gave birth to him on the road driving to Machakos back and forth. Sometimes we finish the peace talks at midnight. Sometimes we finish at 1 in the morning, and I have to drive back all the way, almost 1 hour, to Nairobi at night. So I said to Garang, it is time for me to spend time with my child. And I said to him, I know very well two scenarios. I told him, I know very well, knowing our Junubian leaders, they like power, they like position, they like to be ministers. I said, many will want to come and join you. Don't worry about me not being there. That's what I told him. There will be so many.
Honorable Susan, that question had already been asked. Are you going to contest to be a president of South Sudan?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I am definitely going for that. I will come to it. We're wrapping up very fast, and we're going to get to that question now. So basically, then, and the second thing was, we knew that CPA, the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, was signed in bad faith from Bashir. Bashir did not want that CPA, by the way. He did not want that South Sudan to have right to referendum, free and independence, and all those kind of things. So Bashir did not want that. Bashir wanted the war status to continue, so he can continue to loot the oil of South Sudan and all that. So basically, I told Dr. Garang, I know you are a strategist, so we cannot put all our eggs in one basket. I said, you're going to be in the government, and you're going to fall and log ahead with the ruling party of Sudan, which is the National Congress Party. And you need independent people who are also equally informed about the contents of the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, so that we continue to lobby the world, the region and the world, so that we know when Bashir is going to break the peace agreement. And I said to Dr. Garang, I remember very well in his house, and my son was running around the compound, and Mama Rebecca is there. I said, remember, in the Addis Ababa agreement, Nimeri tore it and said this is not the Bible and not the Quran. So obviously, Bashir could do the same with the CPA. So I said to Garang, let me be outside the system, and I will be with civil society. That is when now I became full-time on NESI Network, which is the first network of indigenous NGOs in South Sudan, which became a civil society advocating for people's rights in Upper Nile. We had many of our communities in Upper Nile, from the Nuer community, who were being forcibly depopulated, removed from their indigenous land, ancestral land, by Bashir, in order to pave way for oil activities in the area. So we had to, that's all in the book. That's all about in NESI Network. You will see in the book, I've mentioned it there. So basically, I needed to continue that work, independent civil society work, because at that point we didn't have civil society in South Sudan. So NESI was New Sudan Indigenous NGOs Network. NESI was the first one. So yeah, we continued doing that, and they formed the government. But sadly and tragically, Dr. Garang died even before he became the president of the regional government of South Sudan, as we all know, and so forth. So that was my decision. President Salva Kiir, when he came to power in November 2005, he didn't know that, and he wanted me in the government in Juba, but I didn't go to assume it because I had already made my decision. And of course, like all of us South Sudanese, I was mourning the late Dr. John Garang, so I could not go to meet with President Salva to apologize in person, because also I didn't have that working relationship with him as yet. Remember, I had met him only once in '99, so I didn't really know him very well.
Yeah.
But the late Samson Kwaji mediated between me very hard in 2006 and 7, so hard that I must meet with President Salva Kiir, because he's wondering why don't I want to work with him. And Samson Kwaji was saying there were some bad people around Salva Kiir who were telling him bad rumors about me, that I only wanted to work with Dr. John Garang and I don't want to work with him. So I had to make a point to go and meet up with President Salva Kiir. And I said, no, it's not like that. I actually, before Garang died, I met with him and I spoke to him about me being out of SPLM and let people continue. I will do my part with the communities. I wanted to work with the communities of all communities in South Sudan, to educate our people on health, hygiene, and all those kind of things. So President Kiir understood. 2007 we met, and he understood my position, and it was okay. But then the 2008 convention, SPLM convention, came, and they said they wanted our own foreign secretariat, because South Sudan did not have its own foreign policy and foreign relations. We were under Khartoum at that point. We were not independent, and so Khartoum said Sudan is an Islamic Arabic country. So basically, we needed to have our own foreign relations with the rest of the world, to say that we are multicultural, multi-faith, and all that kind of stuff. So that's when I decided to, I agreed to come and join President Kiir when the situation became bad. But then I remember meeting with President Kiir for 2.5 hours before I took oath for my new post. And he told me, Suzanne, the SPLM that is today is not the SPLM that used to be when we were in the bush. It's completely dirty. He said to me, SPLM is today, and that was, I'm telling you, that was the 9th of October 2008, that meeting we had. It's in the book. Yeah. He told me, he told me, Suzanne, I need you to come and clean up the SPLM. The SPLM image is really rotten. SPLM, yeah, SPLM is.
I think we did not do a good cleanup.
Yeah, I tried, but I'm not the Secretary General of the SPLM. You know me, I'm the Foreign Secretary. So for me, at least I needed to tell the African Union, the African governments, and the international governments that if we don't give South Sudanese the chance to go through the referendum, and SPLM is the ruling party, because there is no another, because they're the ones who signed the CPA. If we don't do that, we will have a bad war, worse than before, because Junubin are ready for this thing in 2011. So I went to Kawajat and I said, yes, I know SPLM is dirty. I can see it. There's corruption, but I am not the accountant and I'm not the Secretary General. I'm the Foreign Secretary. Even as Foreign Secretary, and I put it in the book here, I said as Foreign Secretary, I did not even have a budget. It's thankfully to the people like Marit of Norway, NPA. Yeah, NPA were the ones paying for my tickets to travel to the few places I was able to travel to. The Secretary General would not approve for even tickets for me to travel. And imagine I'm the Foreign Secretary of the SPLM. And I'm supposed to travel. So I used to laugh and talk to Comrade Salva sometimes. I'm like, President Kiir, you are the chairman of the party. Why can't you put your foot down and make sure this party is in ship shape? So basically I am here trying to advise him because I see what's going on in the SPLM. So then he will say, yeah, I will get to do it. I will get to do it, and nothing is done. Then I would joke with him. I say, so you people want me to be foreign secretary now. How do you want me to travel to South Africa? By bicycle or on foot? I mean, I don't have a ticket. I don't have anything. So I would go to now NPA. I would ask them to borrow if they can help me with the ticket, you know? So through the capacity building project that they have with South Sudan, SPLM, they would approve for me a ticket. Imagine I'm going as SPLM foreign secretary to meet with foreign missions in England, in Norway, in all those other places, in Kenya and Uganda, and I do not even have a budget to travel. So that was how bad SPLM. SPLM is rotten to the core. So when I came and I found that like that, do you know my brother Peter Lual?
Yeah.
I didn't know who was belonging to who. In SPLM, it seemed like people had hidden bosses. So it's like Kir is a chairman of SPLM of another wing. Riek Machar is the chairman of SPLM and vice chairman of another wing. Pagana Moom is secretary general of SPLM, another wing. It was weird. Waniga is another wing. It was weird. I'm serious. Everybody had their own bosses. They knew what they were doing. And I am like, so you know what? We had to tiptoe. When you are working around the SPLM, you have to be very careful what to say in front of who. You understand that? So because if you want to talk on behalf of the people from your heart and you want to talk for the benefit of the people, you got to be very careful whom you're talking in front. Because they look at you now. Who do you think you are? You understand that? So you just keep your peace and you're quiet. Do you know it got to a point in SPLM, even a glass of water, you cannot drink in SPLM, even bottle of water. It was so bad. People were enemies of each other. We were just like very scared of each other. We didn't know what was going on. So in the end, in order to have, and I said that in my book, I said in the earlier days, 2008 that is, up to 2013, in the earlier days of my time as foreign secretary, I decided the only person I could work, I saw everybody, by the way. My heart, my intuition, my mind told me, my soul, the only person I could work with is Salva Kiir as the chairman of the SPLM at that point, 2008 to 2013. So I decided to work with him. So if I want to go, for example, to Kenya, to meet with the foreign mission or foreign the government, part of the Kenyan government there, for me to get permission, I would actually go to President Kiir as the chairman, because you needed your back. You needed your back covered. Because, if I would go to Pagana Moom, who was the former Secretary General, do you know what? He would tell me, no, you cannot go. So basically, I couldn't understand what is it that my job was, because my job description is very much in the constitution of the SPLM. So why is it that all the work of foreign relations was not allowed for me in the SPM? So the idea was for me to sit in the desk and do nothing and just look at the walls. So I couldn't understand. If you don't understand what your job description, then you can do that. But for me, I understood my job description very well, which is to build relations with foreign governments and South Sudan through the SPLM, to build good relations with other political parties, including ruling parties, and to organize the diaspora. Three things very clearly. So why should I, when I initiate an idea and give it to Pagan, and Pagan will sit on it for 6 months? For example, and I mentioned that in the book.
Yes.
In October 2000, in November 2008, I came up with that. Immediately I took oath. I came up with the idea of All Sudanese Political Parties Conference. Because by then, the CPA was an agreement between SPLM and the National Congress Party. Okay? Those of Umma Party, those of Sadiq al-Mahdi and Marghani, they did not believe in the CPA. They said this CPA is not for them. It's not an agreement they abide by. So, I sat down with Comrade Salva Kiir immediately and I said, Comrade Salva, do you know what? These people can do another trick like Addis Ababa on us. Bashir can step aside gently from the government, and then he can put Sadiq al-Mahdi or al-Marghani to become president of South Sudan, and then they will say we don't believe in the CPA. just like because they did not sign on it. So I said to President Kiir, as the chairman of the party, I said, let me work on inviting and sitting down and working together with the DUP and UMA party in a very clever way so that we can have our CPA endorsed as a national document. We're talking of Sudan then as one country. I remember it was not two countries like the way we are today. So President Kiir immediately understood it, you know. But when I went, of course, through my immediate boss, which is Paganamo, I swear to God, I even wrote here in the book, I had to follow Pagan from Juba to Nairobi to Khartoum to Cairo in order for him to approve for me the proposal. I wrote the proposal of all the concept and everything. And I said to him, don't worry about the budget. The budget was $139,000 to bring all these leaders of these political parties from all over Sudan to come to Juba. I said, don't even worry about the money. You know what I did? I went and met with the charge d'affaires of the US Embassy in Khartoum and the British ambassador and all those people, the European Union representative who happened to be the Dutch ambassador in Khartoum at the same time, and the Norwegian ambassador, etc., and the French ambassador. They all said, we will fund this project. They said to me, we have been waiting for SPLM to come with proactive ideas like that since SPLM became ruling party, but nothing has been coming from you. You have disappeared from the political scene since 2005. This is what a foreign mission, head of the mission embassy, with US embassy, for example, in Khartoum was telling me. Said they come, they just sit for a meeting, they talk, nothing. They're not even meeting with other political parties. They're not engaging. They're not doing anything. They're not dialoguing. They're not doing anything. So they said we will pay the tickets directly to the United Nations for these people to airlift it and to the hotels directly. You know why? Because SPLM was too corrupt and dirty. That's what they told me. They said we cannot put any money into SPLM account. That's what they told me at that point. So that's what happened. And that's how we had in October 2009 what we call APPC, All Political Parties Conference of Sudan. They met and if you look at the theme of the conference, it says towards the full implementation of the CPA. The Jalaba delegates who are from the the Communist Party, DUP, UMA Party, paid attention to economic reforms classes, all the discussion papers. They didn't pay attention to the title. I did not, in front of the Lord, I did not intend it that way, but God is a God of South Sudan. I'm telling you, he made them not look at the theme. So basically, by them coming with the resolution endorsing the Juba Conference of all political parties of October 2009, they basically endorsed the CPA indirectly. Because we say the theme, which I wrote, towards the full implementation of the comprehensive peace agreement. They did not notice the theme, but they endorsed it nevertheless. And that is how we were able to put pressure on Bashir. I think you remember the Referendum Act, those of Makwe were going back and forth Khartoum for so long, nothing was happening. Then the riots came in Khartoum, and then I think you saw those of Yasser Arman and Pagana Moon being arrested in Khartoum. So I'm like, I said Subhanallah in Arabic. I said Subhanallah because now I'm watching them on TV, and it was the same Pagana Moon that from October 2008 up to May 2009, he didn't want to approve the project for me until Kiir called for an extraordinary political bureau meeting where he said this conference must take place. It has delayed for so long because I talked to him the year before. So basically now, those of Pagan and Yasser Arman, they were being looked at heroes, being arrested in Khartoum, beaten by Bashir. But the whole idea of the conference, he took me 6 months. Capital cities of East Africa and Egypt, just running after him. And I'm not trying to tell him anything bad, but this was the state of SPLM. So basically,
Honorable Susan, I think you are right because our young people need to be educated on what happened actually. Why did our country fail? And that's why it's important for us to have such a session and to get information from our leaders such that we are given the right information. I always disagree with the SPLMs because they have been very brutal from the start. And that cleans up, and the mess did not start immediately after the death of Dr. John Garang, but it has been going on, but that was a gorilla.
Yeah.
The agenda of transformations, of which all the parties think that they can transform the government, I totally agree with Chol Tongmei. I would say that we are foreign governors governing you. And
Mm,
South Sudan failed because it is being governed by people who
mm,
have a citizenship or who don't put the national interest in their heart. And
yeah.
then sometimes they pretend to be the best. I don't agree with them. I totally don't agree with them. Because
Mm,
when some of them were ministers, we did not see any tangible results of what they did.
mm,
And that's why I must blame the SPLMs, those who were supposed to implement the agenda of development, bring road, health facilities, uh,
mm,
learning institution, you know.
yeah.
So it's good that you clear your side because
Mm,
sometimes we put you together. You
yeah.
were among the people we blame. You're
Mm,
among the people that we thought that you were corrupt. Now
yeah.
you have stated that you do not have any money
I
to
didn't even have a budget.
do the cleans up. So it
Yeah.
is up to our young people to know
Yeah.
to make a decision from now on.
Yeah.
Uh, because
Yeah.
of our time is going. You form your party.
Yeah.
How different is your party from the SPLM that John Grant said you belong with the SPLM? That is
Yeah.
what Dr. John Grant said. What is your party going to do different from what
The vision, the
other
vision
party?
of the
Because
vision of SPLM,
there
the
is
vision
really
of
SPLM
SPLM.
now, really SPLM being led by those of Pagal and
Mm,
other parties. So what is the difference?
mm,
Again, Stephen Farquhar stated in his book, The Feast Talk at the War Talk at the Feast Talk. I always said that there is no a lasting peace in Juba. There are chances that the wheel of determination will elapse. So what is your take? What is your advice?
mm,
Again, Touch, you have talked of the brain drainage. Now
yeah.
you were in the country to develop the country, and
Mm,
people like us and other people could have gone back and participate in the national developments.
yeah.
So, if you were to be the president, how would you really manage to attract
Yeah.
young people with experience, with education, to go
Yeah.
back and participate in the national development?
Yeah.
Because
In a nutshell, the steps and the vision of SPLM. You see, we may call it different names, we may call it whatever. The point is that SPLM, as we all know, from 2013, December 2013, the SPLM leaders fought among themselves and they brought the war into the nation that we are suffering, all of us today, wherever we are. So basically an overpower struggle. Basically, SPLM themselves, and I'm not talking about the membership of SPLM, I'm not talking about the legacy of SPLM, the history of SPLM, the vision of SPLM. And yes, you're right, SPLM has been marred with corruption, and I did mention that in my book. I said SPLM was not a far cry, a perfect party to begin with. However, it was a guerrilla war, and we should have given it a chance as it was ruling, as a ruling party, to see whether SPLM was going to be a good party. But we can only hold accountable properly from 2005 when SPLM became a ruling party. And honestly speaking, SPLM has been nothing but a corrupt party of self entitlement. So you see somebody who will make sure he or she will appoint their friends, their cousins, their brothers, their family members, and their buddies, clicking together and excluding. So of course that beats many purposes, beats competence, beats the desire to come into progress and stability and development as a nation, and it beats also for inclusivity of new people all the time. Because look, 2005 and up to now, how many years ago that is? If you are born in 2005, already you're almost becoming an adult today. And if you have not known SPLM before, then SPLM should have shown you through the way it's ruling the country well for you to become a member to continue the journey. But we cannot bring only my son, my daughter into the government. We have to ensure that the citizens of all South Sudan, we all the tribes of South Sudan, be it we're 64, 72, or 100 tribes of South Sudan, all of us must evolve and become part of that, and all the children, because it's not a dynasty, it is not a kingdom, it is a nation, it's a state that belongs to all of us, the people of South Sudan. So because of that, and because of all the wrangling, the internal wrangling among SPLM, and you can see when people say SPLM IG, SPLM IO, SPLM original, so many, it has to remain always with the word SPLM. I was forced. It's not a decision of mine. It's not what I really want, because I still believe in the vision of SPLM, which is equality, justice, liberty, and prosperity. These four things, how can we disagree with them? Equality, justice, liberty, and prosperity. That is exactly what every South Sudanese wants in South Sudan. So to me, within steps, I put it We64. It could be We74. It's inclusivity. When we're inclusive, we are together as a people. That means there will be justice and equality. And I put peacefully. There is an absence of a culture of peace in South Sudan. What we know only is a culture of violence. The moment I disagree with somebody, oh, I go to the bush, boom, I carry a gun. Then the victim is the average citizen. It's not even the person you're against who's sitting in J1 there in the palace, but it is the average people there who are the ones suffering. So this is why I said we need to introduce a culture, and that's, I think, the only difference that Steps has different from SPLM. We have a strong agenda on peace, because we need to work. I've sat and observed, and even I told you, brother, that I'm working on my third book on Anyanya, the history of South Sudan, our history as a people. But that book is heavy. It's going to be quite heavy, because I am looking at issues since Anyanya 1. We are South Sudanese. Our parents, my brother Peter, were born during war, Anyanya 1. Okay? Then we grew up in SPLMA war. Yes, So now another group of children were born 2005. They also growing up in the war that has been going on since 2013. So do you know that when we grow up like that, we're born like that, all we know is culture of violence in our head. We think that nobody's going to hear me, nobody's going to listen to me unless I carry the gun. But then the gun is hurting me. It's hurting my auntie, my uncle, my mother, my village people, So is it really the solution? It's not really the solution. We have to find better ways of where we can dialogue as a people. And this why Steps is a bit different from there. Yes, I'm still going to stand for the next upcoming elections. We are working hard now. I really must congratulate, honestly speaking, and I wrote something on my social media the other time. I said, God loves South Sudan so much that he brought us peace on the month that COVID was going to flare up the whole world. Just look at that, honestly speaking. COVID has been coming slowly since Jan, Feb, like that, but March, it flared up completely. But it was mid-March that our leaders, for some reasons, were able to, even Dr. Riek Machar could not even, he said, I'm not coming out of Juba until this thing is done. I saw no, seriously speaking, I really appreciate that. I know I have my personal issues, my whatever, but as a national, as a South Sudanese, what he has done is huge for us to come together. The same thing with President Salva Kiir, for him to come forward and embrace his brother and say, let us form this government by hook or by crook. And you remember the time when we were so worried, it was taking a long time for the formation of the government. People were hackling and all of that. But honestly speaking, in the end, they made it. And look what is going on at the moment. As we speak right now, South Sudan is bringing us peace at the time when COVID has attacked the whole world. And if we did not have that government of national unity in place at the time, it would have been very difficult to fight COVID the way we are today. Even recently, when the American government had released $5 million, I believe, for the COVID-19 funding, and I'm sure other governments like the Norwegian, I'm sure they're doing also and all that, even though they themselves are facing a lot of problems in their countries, we thank them for it, that even during the crisis, they're helping us out. But I believe they did it because there is faith in the government. There is faith in the government now that they see Dr. Riek Machar and President Kiir are working hand in hand together with all the other opposition groups that are there. That is fantastic. I know it's not perfect. My brothers, my sisters, my daughters, my sons, my younger brothers, my younger sisters. I know we have so many reservations. I know we are so skeptical about these two working together. I know so many things, but what can we do? we are in this situation now, and let us save lives in as much as we can. So basically, COVID-19 is, we have to, I know we are in Junubin, I will wrap up very quickly. We not Junubin we like each other, we love each other, we want to hug, cave salamat, the greetings with the hand, we want to be together and all that. But all the social distancing is doing a lot of good work around the world, is proving to be helping to contain COVID. So young people, I know you're young and restless, you want to go out and about. Please, if you don't have to go out, don't go outside the house at all. Just stay home. I know it's difficult because it poses the issue of people hustling on day-to-day basis for food. So hunger or COVID, it's a tough one. And this is the one that we all have to think together as people, as patriots. What can we do to help our country overcome this situation? As we speak right now, there are about 4,000 people living in Konyo Konyo Cemetery without any shelter, without any food, without any water. This is crazy. 4,000 is not a small figure. And we already know the IDPs, internally displaced persons, are thousands of them in and around Juba and Bor area. In of course, Upper Nile is greatly suffering from the effect of war. People have been suffering recently from the flood that has been there recently. That that it stopped from the news, but it doesn't mean that the situation is back to normal there.
Few people
Yeah.
have asked the name of your party, so if you don't mind, let them.
Yeah, sure. So quickly, yeah, the party is steps. In South Sudan, as you know, the culture we started with the culture of the roof. South Sudan, as soon as we became independent, we saw the millions and the billions of dollars. Our leaders, they start buying big cars. Like we have perfect roads. Steps has a philosophy of step by step. We're not going to jump on the roof. We're going to take our hands step by step. We're going to go to build our nation into a nation step by step, starting with embracing ourselves as South Sudanese. We, all the communities of South Sudan, we need each other. Dinka cannot make that nation without Nuer. Nuer cannot make nation without Dinka. Bari cannot make that nation without Dinka. Bari cannot make that nation without Nuer. Lotuko cannot make that nation without Toposa. And Zande cannot make that nation without Muru. In every local community, we have our own little one that we have a problem with. I know what I'm talking about. We all know what we're talking about. So the issue, I keep saying generalization is victimization. Let us not, because President Kiir is a Dinka and Dr. Riek Machar is a Nuer and Waniga is Bari, doesn't mean all Bari, all Nuer, all Dinka are enjoying. They're all suffering in all these internally displaced camps, in all these refugee camps, in all over South Sudan. They are with us on the street suffering like all of us, the other communities. So please
I,
don't.
I, I like that, and you stated very clear in your book that
Yeah.
it is not a tribal war. So,
Yeah, it's not a tribal war. It's a politicization.
I myself, Susan Jambo,
Mm,
haven't been to South Sudan for about 22 years. All right,
mm,
and I'm trying now to do my little contribution here. You know,
mm,
so if we rise beyond tribal boundaries and embrace our national unity and agenda, and don't
mm,
support someone because someone is your relative, because the question that I would ask myself,
mm,
where are the supporters of Gaddafi, those the inner circle
mm,
after the regime failed?
mm.
So you always become the victim.
Yeah,
Where are the supporters of Magisto Mariam? Where are the supporters of Idi Amin ibn Mali Mungu? So people need to think of who they
yeah,
support, regardless of the tribe.
yeah.
You need to support someone because he is doing the right thing to, you know. So
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
agree with you. Uh,
Mm,
can you tell us a bit about the role played by the people of Norway?
yeah.
They have been behind the movement from the start, but they seem to have been dropped,
Mm, mm,
neglected. I
yeah.
don't know why.
Yeah.
They have been-
From the time when I'll go very quickly on that. From the time when we got our CPA 2005, the note that I was ending with, so we South Sudanese, we started with the roof. Those people who stood in solidarity with us, we kicked them on the off the curb. We just kick them. We're like, you know what? Thank you very much for helping us. Now you know what? We have our oil money. We are millionaires. We're billionaires. We drive a V8. We don't care about the Norwegians. We don't care about the Americans. Now we have relationship with Qatar. We have relationship with all that.
Unajua
This is
hata
the,
Kiswahili nasema asante ya punda ni tege.
I tell you, man, you know, akuluanguru in Juba
Yeah.
Arabic. It's called akuluanguru. You eat and even it doesn't show on your body. It's like it's denying itself. So now all the time we have been friends with those people and they've been standing in solidarity with us. When it came to our time, when we are in power and we have so much funds in the country, we said we, and you know why? Because the Norwegians were coming to help us to build accountability, transparency, and all the good systems. Because that's what the Norwegians did when they discovered oil in late 60s. Because I went on a tour study at Petrad, you know, it's an oil school in Norway, and even I met with the Norwegian Start Oil, you know, the oil company people, and they told us that when they discovered the oil in the late 60s, the Americans came and they're like, you know, we want to help you, want to do it for you. They're like, no, no, no. We are going to do it ourselves, but you can help us with the technology here and there. You know, the Norwegians said they didn't want to be corrupted. You see? So Norway has such strong measures of accountability, transparency, and ecosystem. You know, the oil is actually dug from the sea. But you know, not even a case of oil spillage onto the sea. But can you go to Upper Nile? I have been to Bentiu. Let me tell you, I've been to Bentiu. River Nam. There's a called River Nam. It's no more river. That thing is swamp now. They built a bridge looking like this, like a dip. I don't know if you can see it. It's like a dip, you know, like this. So the water from both sides don't meet. It's blocked from each other, so the water doesn't flow naturally. As a result, we have a lot of oil spillage because bad practices. You know, we're dealing with companies that are crooks in South Sudan. The way they're removing the oil, they're harming the environment, they're harming our people. So women are giving birth to kids with deformities and all those kind of issues. So as a result, they didn't want the Norwegians because the Norwegians were coming to show us the right way. You know, so that when you are there, you don't help yourself with the government budget and think it's your salary, because it is not your salary. It is meant to be for something else. You are supposed to remit the revenue back into the government, where the government is going to utilize it into other budgets. And the idea was actually to fuel other sectors like the agriculture, the fisheries, and all those other things. You know, we have livestock. South Sudan is rich in everything. All it needs a little bit of support and it will kick off by itself. So I want to, somebody asked me earlier, Suzanne, are you running for president? I am running for president. And it's not because I want position. Trust me, I have been a witness. I've been a silent witness in the background for too many years, for half my age. I've seen it all. I've seen where all the wrongs. I've tried to do what I could, which I tried, where I could, I succeeded, where I could not, my hands were tied to my back. But I want to be able to come and implement all those things that I know what our people have been dreaming about. So it's going to be all of us, equality, justice, and one people. And that's how we're going to build the trust among us and bring peace, because peace cannot be brought when we suspect each other. We have to really learn to trust each other and believe in ourselves and in one another, and the right person in the right place. We're tired of bringing my brother, my sister, my this, my that into government. We want to bring even if that person is from, I don't know, Kiship or there, or from whatever, what is it, a will there, somewhere down there, or Panyagor somewhere there, or what, or Kobo there. We're going to bring that person. If they're competent, they're going to be in the right place. That is what we're trying to do. This is the philosophy of steps. The right person in the right place. And We64, We72, We70. Well, I know my brother Charles Itahi always quarrels with me, but Charles is not stuck in 64. It's stuck in 72. Fine, make it even 100. We 100 people. But we and you know what? By the way, when we get to a point where the let's say the president, myself, when I become president of South Sudan, I'm a Moru from Western Equatoria. I don't want somebody from Eastern Equatoria like Latuko or Taposa or Dinka or from Awil or from Warap or Nuer from Akobo, or from Nasir, or what, or Anuak from Akobo, or Murle and Mundari to feel this is not the government, or Balanda or Kiresh or Shuluk. I want everybody to feel this is the government, because we're going to be a servant of the people. The roads is going to go all the way to your place. The schools is going to go all the. We want what Dr. John Garang philosophy, peace through development. When we bring development to the people and we take the village, the towns to the villages, the people will stay in their homes and they will cherish their homes and they will not go to war, because they know I have my children going to this school here. Why should I go to war? I want this school to my kids to go to school. When you see the hospital is right there, maybe your wife is working as a nurse there, or your auntie as a nurse there, or your uncle, then you say, why should I destroy this village? It has a hospital that my own is working there, and it's helping my sick grandfather or grandmother. So basically, when we get to development, we become stakeholders in it. We know, we see the effect of it in our family, then we become, protectors of it. We will not resort to war easily. We want to stick by it. So this is what I wanted to say to everybody. And wash hands, social distancing, and pray for our people in South Sudan. Let us pray really. And in a few days, I'm going to talk also more specifically on that on Tuesday with the youth, where we're launching something big to help our people there. So stay
Uh,
tuned. Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Susan Jambo, Honorable
Yeah.
Susan, and the President to be. It was a nice conversation. This social platform will be hosting all the OSS,
Mm,
because our history is our identity. So we must ensure that anything is documented before our people age. The
mm.
aging generation. I had contacted the former Minister for Defense, Kwame Nyang, a few weeks ago, and try to encourage them also to collect oral history from those who fought the war. Now they are aging. So you have done a wonderful job, but continue writing books.
Yeah.
Uh, and it was a pleasure having you here. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Brother Peter Lualde. And thank you for all the people who continue to document our history. It's very important.
And
Uh,
please read the books. These books are available on Amazon America, Amazon Australia, UK,
maybe
uh,
you can
so
send
Europe,
them the link. Yeah.
everywhere on Africa World Books, and they are
Yeah.
available through about 38,000 distribution outlets. But the problem, our people are not buying books. Last month, only 12 copies were sold in America, the five in Australia.
Yeah.
I think 13 or 12 in the UK. So, my dear people, if you love your country,
Yeah.
it's good if you can at least get one book per a month or a year. All these
Yeah.
books are available through ebooks and anywhere 24/7. So we
Mm,
are obligated to make sure that the books are available, but it is your responsibility to read the books. And
right.
now you debate politics on daily basis. You should also provide the source of your information. Because when I was talking to Susan Jambo, we were
Mm,
also referring back to the books. So please, I encourage you to contact us if you need any books. If you are about to write the books, continue writing books. And
yes.
yeah,
Yeah, thank you so much, Brother Peter Duwal, and keep up the job. I know you're doing a difficult job
very,
because no one is buying
very,
books, and so to pay the bills for the publishers and the printing and the proofreaders and the editors. I mean, it's a huge responsibility. It's really a huge responsibility.
والله أنا تعبان يا عم.
I know, Anarif, So one day maybe we do more sessions on this, specifically on the book as well, more and more. Whenever maybe another time you can bring a panelist, a group of other authors as well, so we all talk a bit more and more. I think it's a good idea. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome.
It's just the situation of peace, the message of peace, and I'm like saying to people, please know that peace is the most important thing for us to be able to overcome COVID-19, because when we are at war, it's very difficult to do anything. It's destruction completely. War will only make a COVID-19 job 100% easy. So COVID-19 will take over us. The whole of South Sudan will be over with war plus COVID. It will be completely finished. So we thank God we have peace now. Really, God loves South Sudan. And for us, really, if we can stop and pause and think about that, it means a lot. And who could have thought that Dr. Riak Machar would be so busy these days on COVID-19 in Juba, all the meetings he's doing and commendable work he's doing, and of course supervised by his president, President Kiir, and all that. I know so many people have reservations about these two leaders, but I told this to many people and I wrote it publicly. We're buying our peace. We're buying our peace. Sometimes even those of us who could be married and they have their wives or husbands, and you know that the husband or the wife is very difficult person, but you have kids together, and you want to raise the kids. So the person is really difficult for you. At 2 in the morning, the husband maybe tell you, cook for me. I want food right now, right now. And so the woman will say, okay, I'm putting up with this for the sake of my children. And in northern Sudanese, there's a saying, al jaban rabba yalu, the one who's a coward raises his kids. So this thing of thumping our chest, I am the brave, I'm the strong, for an ego and all that, will not take us anywhere. Sometimes we have to be flexible, we have to concede, we have to, that's for the sake of the people not to die, to get killed. So now what can we do to help our people with COVID? That's what needs to be done. And please remember, we're saving our nation because future generations are coming. Books is what a lot is documented there. You have to help the children and the upcoming young leaders. It is our job. If we complain, we sit here and complain, Kir is not perfect, Riak is not perfect, Wani is not perfect, and all that, then who is the perfect if you're not grooming other people? We have to groom. It's our responsibility. We have to groom ourselves. We have to groom other people, younger people, and our children. So it's a collective responsibility. These leaders are not going to come fall from the sky. They are part of us. They're among us here. So please try to do your best to also get those books. They read them. I believe it's $8. You can get it online. The Amazon copy, the soft copy. I believe. I think our brother is going to share with us the links, and for those people who will be inquiring, so many of them here, about how to get the book. And please, let's continue the journey. It's our responsibility. Sit with your children, talk to them about our history, where we have come from, the problems we have, the challenges, and like that. Don't be like our leaders thinking South Sudan begins and ends with them, because that's what they think. They think without them, South Sudan cannot be. And look what they're doing. We know they're not doing anything really, but at least they're keeping the peace now. They're not pointing guns at each other. So that's a huge progress, So God bless you. Happy Easter, and stay safe with your families. Stay indoors and social distancing, hygiene, clean as much as anything that comes from outside. Make sure you wipe it, even if with water and whatever. I know those wipes, the hygienic wipes, are expensive. It's not cheap, but vinegar, okay, if you soak things in some water, warm water and vinegar, it helps a lot. And whatever we can, even if it's $1, 50 cents, or whatever, where you are, Canadian, American dollar, Australian dollar, whatever it is, spare it to help something back home. People in refugee camps, the situation is not good. We're going to share as much as possible online, the organizations that are doing marvelous job there, so it's tough. I know you're all overstretched as it is. You're helping your family members back home and all that, but don't be like Kir and Riak and Wani, who only know their family members. Also, because that's what you have a problem with them. You say they're only appointing their relatives, but the problem is we are also only helping our family members. So what are doing for the other community members? For the other people, what are we doing also? And our brother Peter Walding, he's doing his part, is publishing the books totally free of charge. He has not charged me any money for it. It's supposed to have been $4,000 or something at least. I have not even paid him. I don't have the money. People think that everybody who was in SPLM was a thief. No, we are not. Some of us.
We thought that in the first place that people who were in the movement, in the SPLM, were they had the money. But I have experienced most of the OSS don't even have money, and they suffer like ourselves. So yeah,
Yeah. Very few people were stealing the money among themselves, and they had their foreign partners in crime. By the way, they also had their foreign partners in crime. But, anyways, one day all the justice will come. But for us, let us focus on our peace. Let's focus on overcoming COVID-19, and let's not forget.
There is a
Yeah.
question from David Gatkak. He said, if you were to become the president of South Sudan, which country would you invest the oil money in? Is it the US or the China?
I believe in a balanced relations between the two worlds. That's my belief, because we cannot be leaning towards US alone or China alone. But I can promise you one thing. I will make sure I will deal with countries that safeguard the environment, future generations, and transparency accountability, so that presently we can also enjoy relative prosperity in the country. So I will not deal with countries that are coming to loot from us, steal from us, and make us walk around naked without clothes, hungry, and then they take all of it. I will not deal with corrupt governments and countries. So, China, by the way, for example, if you deal with them with the way you want to deal with them officially and transparently, they will deal with you like that. But if you want to deal with them corrupt, it's up to you. So African leaders in Africa, and that's a bigger story for another day. African leaders in Africa opt to deal with certain corrupt governments around the world simply because they share the money together. So they're allowing foreign governments to come together with them as leaders to steal from our country. So the two of them, they actually, hey, if our oil is excuse me, $4 billion a year, and they will say, okay, me and my people here will take 2 billion. You and your government, foreign government, take 2 billion. That's what they're doing. Seriously, that is why we are in an endemic hunger, poverty, year in, year out. So my government is going to deal with governments that will deal with us in partnership. You want to come and work with us, help build our capacity, but we decide in how things are going to be utilized as the people of South Sudan, then well and good. You can't deal with us, choose another country. Choose another country. Yeah, and
Just
we shall be okay.
Sunday or Monday. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, and take care. Huh? Take
You're
care.
welcome. You're welcome, Honorable Susan. Dear viewer, thanks again for
Mm,
listening and for tuning in. We shall be hosting many authors quite often, and feel free also. We shall be discussing books,
mm,
uh, not purely politics without reference. So we are a publication company. We
mm.
must deal with people who provide source of their information, a backup. So thank you, Susan.
Thank you
Uh,
so much,
wish you
brother.
all the
Thank you.
best. We are blessed to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. Stay blessed too. Huh? Thank you, brother.
Thanks so much. So, viewers, in case if you need any book, please visit Amazon and you will get a book published by Africa World Book there. All the books that, the one that I have shown are on Amazon. So feel free to visit Amazon or contact us if you need a book and we'll bring it to you. John Garang, Beneding Manuel, and a boom, my chipper, John Beneding Manuel, and a boom, my chipper, Bye bye. See ya. John Grant, on a ding many yellow, and a boom, my children, Bunyang. John Grant, and a ding many yellow, and a boom, my children, Bunyang. John Grant, and a ding many yellow, and a boom, my children, Bunyang. Anything money and live, and a boom, my children, Bunyang. Bye bye, my people. Thanks so much.